Well, it's Bad Santa, so of course it's going to be offensive and inappropriate, but just how offensive and inappropriate is it? Well, the film has been rated for crude sexual humour, sex scenes and coarse language. So let's start with the sex. There's a lot of sex and sexual related content everywhere in the film. There's a few sex scenes. One of them happens up against a wall in an alley. The people are fully clothed, but it's really obvious what they're doing. One other sex scene takes place outdoors, sort of against some trees, and the camera pulls back to show that children are watching this happen. Another sex scene takes place in a public bathroom where it's pretty dirty and filthy, and they're obviously having anal sex. So the sex kind of is a bit, grotty, if you like, through the film. There's other sex-related scenes, like one particular character gets jerked off quite a few times. Once it's at someone's house, and another time it's in a hospital bed. And there's a lot of, masturbation kind of references throughout the film. A lot of the sexual content is in the banter and the humour. There's a lot of sexual, and particularly genitals kind of related insults and name calling and words used. There's a lot of discussion about sex and virginity and everything. There's a full list on the website if you want to check it out, and anything that you can think of that's related to sex is probably somewhere referenced in this film. It's just one of those. It's just dirty humour, and some of it is very funny as well, I should add. So onto the crude language. Yeah, there's a lot of language in the film. As I said, a lot of it is the name calling and the insults. And it's the kind of language where, being inappropriate humour, there's nothing left kind of sacred. So there's height and weight and race and gender jokes. There's jokes about religion. There's, jokes about everything. It's that inappropriate humour where, everything is kind of taken the mickey out of. Nothing's safe. And some of it is very funny. If you do like inappropriate humour, then you really will get a laugh out of this film. Onto the violence. There's actually not a whole lot of violence in the film, but there is some. So a couple of characters get shot, for example. And this is the only blood and gore related in the scene as well. Someone is kind of dragged after they're shot, so you see a blood smear on the ice. The other blood I should mention in the film is there's one young guy carries around a stuffed toy and it has a big blood smear on the side of it, so it's a bit gross. And you see that a few times as well. There's a few scenes which take place in hospital rooms as well, so you see IV drips and people in hospital gowns and all that kind of stuff. There's another character who has a very hacking cough too, so you see her gagging and hacking quite a few times. But as for the violence, so you do see someone shot, you see a little bit of push and shove going on, a little bit of wrestling, and some arguing and those kind of things, like a car crashes into a stall. There isn't a whole lot there in terms of violence, but yeah, there is those shooting sort of scenes that happen, and someone's arrested and all that kind of stuff. But violence isn't really a main theme in the film. The other thing is alcohol and drugs. There isn't really any drugs in the film. There's certainly, you don't see any illegal drugs or any drug taking as such. I think there's mentions of, someone says, "Are you high?" Someone says, talks about hallucinogens and the after effects of drugs. So they're the only kind of drug references. Although one other thing is that when one couple have sex, there's a joke afterwards that he had to give her Rohypnol in order to get her to sleep with him. So there's a bit of an uncomfortable joke there about it possibly having been a rape scene that you've just watched. I should add as well, with the violence, there's a few jokes about suicide in the film, and you do see somebody attempt suicide a couple of times and they leave a suicide note. They try to stick their head in the oven and they try hanging. Back to the alcohol. Yeah, alcohol is a very strong theme in the film as well. You see our main character often is drinking spirits. There's a lot of drinking in the film, and it's everything from spirits to wine, beer, champagne. He carries a hip flask as well, so you do see that quite a few times in the film as well. But as I said, not really any drug reference. The only other possible drug-related reference is that our hacking, coughing character drinks some cough medicine at one point, but that really is it. So that pretty much kind of wraps up all the content in the film. I've got to say, if you've seen Sausage Party earlier in the year, then this is pretty tame compared to that. So, that was way more out there in terms of what could be possibly offensive or outrageous in terms of crude humour and sex. This one, it's fun, it's silly, it's over the top. It's a little bit boundary pushing, but personally, I didn't think it was anything that, you know, you probably won't have seen before if you like that kind of crude humour. It is good fun. It's a nice alternative to all the other holiday, Christmassy, family-related fare. So, you know, I know everyone I've spoken to went and saw it, actually really enjoyed it and got a bit of a laugh out of it. So, you know, if this is the sort of film that you like, and certainly if you liked the first film, then there's no reason why you won't enjoy the second film. There is much more detailed, because there is a lot of sexual themed and crude humour content in the film. There is a lot more detail on the website, which is cinemum.net. And if you do go and see Bad Santa 2, please leave me a comment below and let me know what you thought.